What's shaking, everybody? What a privilege I have for all of you. What a treat is in store for you. I want you to, I'm going to introduce Jordan Shamah. We call him Jordy. Jordy is a friend of mine since, I don't know, 1972. We were like 12 or 13 years old. We met in Lawrence Middle School, became friends at Lawrence High School, stayed friendly on and off. I'm embarrassed to say, but I'm also excited to say over 50 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
50 years. God, you don't look a day over 52. Now, you all know I'm a 67-year-old guy. Grew up in the 5 towns in Long Island. And we had a pretty wild situation back then in the 70s. It was the disco era. It was the Quaalude era. We were just coming off the 60s, which was like the free sex era. But we were still practicing that.
Yes.
Right? And so we're all our girlfriends and the girls that we grew up with, and we all had an incredible young teenage years. And then going to college, we started to grow up. Many of us did. Jordy and I didn't really. And we continued our crazy ways until much later in life. But I'm going to introduce Jordy to you right now. And you're going to hear some things today that have never been told. You have never heard these stories about the Wolf of Wall Street, Stratton Oakmont, and some other crazy stories. And I just want you all to know Jordy's coming off a serious health issue. And I'm asking you all to go to his GoFundMe page. You'll find it on Facebook, maybe on Instagram. He'll tell you. And let's all open up our checkbooks, open up our wallets, and everybody pitch in. You're going to hear this story for the first time ever on social media, live here today. Jordy, what's shaking, baby?
Oh, nothing. Just glad to be alive.
Tell us what happened before we go back in time.
What happened to me recently was they found a little cancer in my colon.
Colonoscopy?
Yeah, through a colonoscopy.
Right. I just had that. And when I woke up, the doctor said, I'll see you in 5 years. So I took that as a good sign.
Yeah, well, when I had it, the doctor told me, everything looks great. I'll see you in 6 months.
Oh, really?
And then 2 weeks later, I get a call from a nurse, are you prepared for your operation? I said, what the hell are you talking about?
Oh, my God.
I mean, what operation? So then the doctor called me 5 minutes later and apologized to me. So I went in to see the doctor. He says, we found very, very small piece of cancer near the rectum, and we want to just remove it. And we anticipate full removal. No aftercare, nothing. It should be, pretty easy. However, it is close to the rectum, so it's a little dangerous. So I go to this doctor who says, I don't want to do the operation. I want to give you to someone who's better than me.
Wow.
Right. So I said, okay. I mean, of course I said okay. So I went way out in West Palm Beach. I met this doctor. I don't remember his name. An extremely, I want to say, cocky, self-confident, one of those type of doctors.
I get it. Arrogant.
And we scheduled the operation, and he performed the operation. And my biggest fear was, a colonoscopy bag. That was my biggest fear of the whole thing.
Have to wear a bag.
Right.
To go to the bathroom.
Right.
For temporary or forever? You don't know.
It would have been temporary.
Right.
But I don't know.
Right.
He fortunately did the operation, supposedly very successful, removed the cancer. A week later, I was checked out. I was cancer-free.
So you were in the hospital?
I was in the hospital like 2 days for this operation.
Oh, only 2 days, okay.
So then 2 weeks go by. Feeling fine, starting to go for walks and stuff. All of a sudden, I felt pain in my stomach like you never felt in your life. It was torturous.
Wow.
They called the ambulance. I don't remember much. They called the ambulance. I was in tears, crying to them, please take me out of pain. Please, I can't take this pain. Then I went into a coma.
Before you got to the hospital? Or?
I don't know.
Okay, I got you. Yeah,
I don't
really
remember. I don't remember. But I was in a coma for 6 days, and according to one of the nurses, I died twice on the table. And
Wow.
I actually, to be honest, I actually saw a blue light.
Okay.
I don't know. They talk about that You know, I
Right,
saw a
right.
light.
I love that.
And then when I didn't turn toward the light. I turned away from it. And then that was the first time I opened my eyes, and I saw a friend of mine, an old friend of mine, actually from Stratton, standing over me.
Wow.
So I was in intensive care. I was asleep, in a coma or put asleep for about 6 to 7 days. Then finally they woke me up. I had sepsis.
Sepsis. Your body went
Sepsis.
into sepsis.
Right.
And explain. Can you explain that really, or
I don't know much about it except that whatever they connected on me didn't unconnected.
right? So apparently, sepsis, from my understanding, in our stomachs, how we digest food,
Right.
we have acid, severe acid, right? And when something is perforated, this is my understanding. Again, doctors, don't jump on me here, but I'm interested in some real comments here because we don't know. We're two finance guys. We don't know about this medical stuff so much. But we have lived this long. We've managed, so we're doing okay. But sepsis is when your inside, your stomach, start leaking fluid and acids into your system.
Yes.
You're supposed to have a bowel movement. You excrete a lot of nonsense through. We pee and we poop.
Many people die from it.
Sepsis is one of the worst things that can happen. And by the way, the most painful, they told me.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
They've threatened me with sepsis a few times because I have diverticulitis, but okay, it's another story.
Yeah. Being a sober guy, the hospital got me good, got me some free highs.
Right. A little morphine,
Yeah.
a little Dilaudid.
Right.
I was when I was in the hospital one time for the diverticulitis, I was upset to leave. I was just pumping this thing and hitting this thing and getting the morphine and getting Dilaudid. I was like, I never felt anything like this, boy.
Right. So then, finally, they took out all the tubes and stuff, and I was able to breathe on my own.
Oh, so you were you were being oxygenated, right?
Yes.
You were on a breathing apparatus.
Yes, I was.
Wow.
I had these big things in my mouth. I don't know what the hell they were.
Right.
And I finally started breathing on my own after 6 or 7 days. That's why they say I almost died.
Right. They kept you out of pain?
They kept me out of pain.
Okay.
But I was so weak,
I can't even imagine.
I couldn't lift my cell phone. It was too heavy.
I get it. I understand.
I was so weak. And then as time went on, they took me out of intensive care. I started getting better, slowly but surely. Doctor was terrific. He was in to see me every day at 7:30 in the morning.
Now, which doctor? Now, so you're the first doctor, not the first doctor.
No, the doctors at Delray Medical took care of me.
Where did
that first doctor disappeared?
Surgery? Where did the first surgery?
First surgery took place in West Palm Beach. I don't remember the name of the place.
Interesting.
But in Delray, I was hit with a super doctor, Dr. Leo, I think his name is. But he was terrific, and I had to learn how to walk. I didn't remember anything, and I didn't remember my past either. It took me, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks just to start to realize who I am. I was that out of it, and I'm still to this day I don't remember. It's getting better, but till to this day I don't remember a lot of things.
Let me tell you a memory I have of my man, the kid, right here, Jordan Shamah. I don't know if he remembers this. They called him the kid. One day we decided we were going to go hang out, just me and Jordy. And but he said, "Listen, I got a basketball game right after school. I think it was at the Temple League.
It was the Temple League, yeah.
Right. So he said, you got to let's come with me. I'll play a quick game. We smoke some weed.
Yes.
I go into the stands. Jordy goes and he starts playing basketball. He's high as a kite. I can testify to that on a stack of Bibles because so was I.
Right.
And I watched this guy go up and down the floor and literally score like 37 points.
That's correct. I missed one shot.
I mean, I never seen anything like it, to be honest. Steph Curry would have been jealous.
Yes.
I mean, he's hitting 35-foot shots. I think that might even be before the three-pointer.
That was my peak.
Right. That was a show that if you didn't see it, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Honestly. And that's a memory that I have of us together.
Yeah.
Me and you hanging out, and then afterwards we went out, and we've been reliving that moment now for like, I don't know,
years.
50 years.
Yes.
And that's the craziest thing about life when you stay in contact with friends and old associates and friends and contacts and the value of relationships, which is something as an older guy I'm learning. I didn't understand when I was younger the value of relationships, lifelong relationships, friendships, etc. And I went to prison for I was in custody, federal custody for 9 years, 4 months, and it's amazing who remembered me while I was inside and wrote me letters and sent me magazines and books and a few dollars here and there or whatever, reached out to my family. But the value of these relationships is amazing. So when I saw Jordy's GoFundMe page, we'll get to that at the end, I called you right away.
Yes, you did.
And, I was still in, I don't remember what stage I had just been released, I think. I was in home confinement for a year and then just got out of prison. And, I would have loved to have done more, but I've been using whatever resources I have to launch this venture.
Yes.
And we've created a really spectacular.
Fortunately, I grew up with, as you know, Danny Porish and Steve Madden.
But tell us who they are, because the audience might not immediately
Steve
remember.
Madden is Steve Madden Shoes.
Right. Everybody should know that name, Steve Madden.
And Danny Porish was at the Wolf of Wall Street. He was
Jonah Hill character.
Jonah Hill character.
Right. In real life, Danny was our friend, and
right.
we all grew up together at Lawrence Middle School, Lawrence High School, etc.
Right.
The 5 towns.
Yeah, Danny actually went to Woodmere Academy.
Okay, I remember that now.
Right.
That's right.
And we're still friends today.
Yes.
We're still very close today.
That's great.
Steve Madden and I, because of the Stratton Oakmont thing, didn't speak for a number of years over a misunderstanding.
But we all grew up together. We're all friends. We've been
Right.
friends forever. We see each other at high school reunions, and we used to hang out pretty much a few nights a week, few days a week.
Oh yeah, we were
for years. All of us.
Whoever parents were away, we were at the house.
Correct, correct. And all the clubs we all went to, and
Right.
the women we dated. Sometimes they dated all of us.
So he heard I was sick, and I haven't spoken to him since the reunion, 10 years.
Okay.
And we text each other and made peace through texting. And he found out what happened to me. And the next day, his secretary called me and asked me for his address. My address. I gave my address. I didn't know what it was for.
Right.
And the next day, Federal Express, he delivered a check for me that saved my life.
Tell us how much. Do you care to tell us how much?
It was $50,000.
Steve Madden, having not spoken to you for 10 years,
Yeah.
sent you a check for $50,000. Stevie, bro, that's a mitzvah. That's a good deed. Bro, I'm so impressed.
Yeah, I cried when I got it.
I'm so impressed with Stevie right now. I mean, it just really into my heart. That's what a sober guy does. That's what a good person does. He can afford it, and he had it handy, and he loves you, and that's why he did that.
Yeah.
We all have love for each other. That's what I'm learning.
Oh, a deep love. There's nothing like the love of an old friend.
I agree with that.
You know,
I agree with that.
It hurt me for years not speaking to him.
Yep.
I was always like his little brother kind of thing. You know, I used to kind of follow him around, and we went to we did everything. He got sober. I got sober with him.
You played golf together.
Like
as
tons
kids,
of golf
tons
together.
of golf.
Tons of golf.
You guys were. I was always jealous. You guys were really good golf players.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you a funny story about golf. When I got in trouble for the Stratton Oakmont thing, when Jordan Belfort set me up, which we'll get into.
Oh yeah.
I got called in by the district attorney, and they go, "What are these checks for $40,000, $30,000, $50,000 that Steve Madden wrote you?" So obviously you were doing business with him, right? I said, "No, sir. That's what he lost to me on the golf course."
Is that true?
True story.
Wow.
And they freaked out.
Because Stevie was a scratch golfer himself.
Yeah, he was a good golfer.
Yeah. And Barry
Friedman, yeah.
Rabbi Friedman. I don't know if he's still.
Yeah, I
was a
speak to him
rabbi.
too.
Yeah, these are all my friends now on Facebook still.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been away, and some guys reached out to me, which is, to me, I hold that in here, and but I'm shocked. So you took Stevie to the hoop in a way, right?
Yeah, that day, that week, whatever it was, and they thought they had me.
That's so great.
Yeah,
I love it.
And in those days we played golf for a lot of money.
But you played since your kids is the point.
Yeah.
We to go back to 17,
I was down
16,
to, I was
15.
down to a 5-6 handicap.
Wow. A legit 5-6
Legit.
handicap. A lot of guys say 5-6 and they're really 15, 16.
Right. No, I was
Right.
I was pretty good in my day.
There's no question. You were a very good athlete, I remember. Always in the sports that you played. you were very good. You had good skill sets, good hand-eye coordination, and all that kind of stuff. And you were always a funny guy. I loved your humor and your lightheartedness and all that. I loved that about you. And so now we grew up together, 5 towns in high school. And where'd you go to college?
I went with Steve Madden to University of Miami for. I know I went there. I flew there, and then I flew home 2 years later. I don't remember much in between.
That's really my story a little bit. Back to what years were those?
Quaalude. That was Quaalude City.
Were you a freshman? You started college there?
Yeah.
So that was the fall of 75.
Right.
Maybe to 77.
Right.
And then what happened after that?
After that, I was in my full drug addiction. I went to work in the garment center.
I remember you were selling stuff.
I was, working.
Schmatters.
I remember one year I got fired on 7 floors in one building. In 1400 Broadway, I got fired on 7 floors.
And how does that work?
In 1 year, because I kept getting hired work.
You get hired and getting fired, hired and getting
a
fired.
boss would always call me in and say to me, listen, obviously you're getting high here. If you don't do it ever again, you could keep your job. And I used to say, okay. And then the next day I get next day.
What kind of getting high we do? We smoking weed?
Quaaludes.
Eating Quaaludes.
Quaaludes.
Back in the friggin' day. Now, you remember what years these were? So
we
got out of college in
78, 79.
So you never graduated from college?
No.
Okay.
78, 79, 80.
Right. Rocking.
I mean, Quaaludes went from, whatever a piece, $2 a piece, to at the end they were $50 a piece.
They went, and they were a lot of them bootlegs and
and they stopped making them. Thank God they stopped making them.
Yeah, I miss them. What can I tell you? That was the greatest drug of all time.
So then Steve Madden got sober about a year before me.
I remember that.
And it was his anniversary. And I don't know how I knew about it, or maybe he told me. And I went to his anniversary meeting, AA meeting, on about 3 vodkas and 2 Quaaludes. And while he was speaking, I kept correcting his story.
While he was
speaking,
at an AA meeting.
At an AA meeting.
Oh,
I kept talking.
I've never seen that.
I kept talking. It's a little place called Perry Street in the West Village.
I remember Perry Street meetings, yes.
That was where I got sober. And
Ellen Honig lived on Perry Street.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, at one point, yeah.
And 2 weeks later, from that day, I was sitting in an office. I had a job that I don't think I did anything, but I had a job, and I knew my life. It was live or die. I could have made phone calls all day and night. I couldn't get 2 people to go to dinner with me. That's how alone I became.
You become very isolated. That's what addiction does to you.
Yes, and then you push away everybody.
Subconsciously, though.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It's all subconscious. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all part of the disease.
Real addict behavior.
So 2 weeks went by. I called Steve. I said, I want to come to the meeting. Now, I didn't remember what I did at that same meeting 2 weeks before. So this was a very crowded meeting where you had to get there like a half hour early, reserve your seat.
You get a seat, right.
Yeah, and all that. So I go into the meeting. I sit down. It was like the waters parted. Like 5, they just didn't want to sit near me. I had like 4 empty seats around me.
I don't blame them. I get it.
And that was my first AA meeting. And I went to Perry Street probably every day for the next 5 years. I went to 3 meetings a day.
Where were you living?
3 or 4 years. I was living on West 29th Street, and East 29th Street.
Okay.
And I went all the way west just to...
Well, like 3rd Avenue, that kind of spot?
Like 2nd Avenue or something like that.
Okay.
I originally lived in Tudor City in a little apartment smaller than this studio.
Right. Imagine, and then I lived with 3 guys for 3 years in a room half the size.
Yeah.
With a toilet in the middle of the thing. And there was no nice paneling on the wall.
Yeah.
We had cockroaches walking up the walls.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous.
We had a 3-man bunk. I mean, that's how I live, bro.
Yeah. I
get it.
Yeah. So I went to meetings every day, and my life became AA.
And it became instantly better, yeah?
Oh, I was on a pink cloud. I can't tell you. I still have part of a pink cloud, but I was on a pink cloud my first 2 years. Like it was like a new drug. Wow, I could see the world.
Right. Clarity.
Right. And I spoke all over, and as time went on, I spoke at prisons. I did some rehabs. I spoke. I tried to give back as much as I can.
Do you remember what year that was?
Probably in the 80s.
Okay, so you got sober early.
Yeah.
I remember some
was 31.
stories. I remember talking to you. I think you were going to Fire Island,
Yeah.
and you were so stoned all the time. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And you were slurring on the phone all the time, and I was also getting high, but I wasn't slurring.
Right. No, I was
At least in public.
I was uncontrollable. I could not control. I never in my life had one drink. I can't. And to this day, I could sit in a restaurant and look at some people and watch them drink, and I would say to myself, "Drink it."
That's how I feel about my wife. Now, my ex-wife goes out and she'll order a drink just to be like, so no one gets on her. She'll take one sip and she'll be like, "Oh, I'm so tired."
Right. How do they do that?
She starts yawning, and I got a headache. I mean, I'm looking at her like I want to kill her because I take that drink and shoot it down. It's a funny thing, right?
Yeah. So then, Danny Porsche called me up. He goes, "I want to talk to you. I'm doing something in the stock business."
Now, tell me, didn't you have a heart attack or something like that?
Oh yeah, I had before I got sober.
Right.
2 years. My mother had passed away.
Now I remember. I called you because of your mom.
Right.
Because our families knew each other.
Yes. My mother passed away, and she grabbed my hand. We were kind of saying goodbye. She grabbed my hand, and she was tears in her eyes. I'll never forget this. And she grabbed my hand and looked at me in the eye and said, "Please stop. Please stop."
Wow. I mean, I don't know if you heard this, but what? That's a moment. I just felt a chill.
Yeah. And I couldn't. I still couldn't.
But it was in your head.
Yeah. Oh, forever.
It's a disease. People don't understand that addiction is a disease.
Yes.
And it's centered in the middle of your brain. And people think they could conquer this disease on their own. Right? If I told you had cancer, you'd run to the doctor.
Right.
If I told you had diabetes, you'd run to the doctor. If I told you you're an addict, you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to just stop because I'm a man.
Right.
I have willpower.
All right. I could do it.
Right. And what part of your sick brain are you going to use to fix your sick brain?
Right.
That's why we have meetings and a fellowship and steps. And the first word of the first step is we.
That's right.
And that got to me. You never have to do anything alone ever again. And that was very powerful for me. So
me
now,
too. Me too.
Mom passes away. You have a
Mom
heart attack.
passed away. I had a heart attack about a year later. That was a strange story too. An old friend of mine, Brian Frank.
Brian, of course.
I called him up. I said, "There's something wrong in my chest. I don't know what it is, but I think I have something wrong." So he goes, "Okay, come on, I'll take you to the hospital." I go to the hospital. Doctors look me over and say, "Go home. Go home and take a Rolaids. There's nothing wrong with you." I went home that night, and I knew something was wrong with me.
I got you.
Your arms feel weird. It's not painful, but you have a thing in your chest, and your arms feel really weird. I said, "Brian, take me back to the hospital."
Wow.
Thank God he was home. That day. Just thank God
Right. He was
everything
available
works
and
that way,
right,
and that's how God works. They take me back to the hospital. They give me some tests, and they say, "Jordan, just go into this room." And I'll never forget this moment. In come a bunch of people with white coats. I guess they were doctors. I don't, really.
Right.
And they go, "Jordan, Mr. Shamah, we want you to relax. We want you not to get excited, but you're having a heart attack."
Were you perspiring?
Yes. I was.
Sweating is a big sign, just so everybody knows.
So they go, "You're experiencing a heart attack." So I, being in my addiction and not caring about whether I live or die, I went into a Fred Sanford. I don't know if anyone remembers Sanford. I went, "Oh no, is this the big one?" I did a whole thing. "Oh, is this it?"
You're playing.
I was playing, and I was out of the hospital. It was a mild, slight blockage of an outer artery that was cleared right up. I didn't need any other further.
No surgeries.
No surgeries.
No stents.
No stents. And I left the hospital and went right to my drug dealer.
It's a very logical thing to do if you're an addict. I mean, if you're not an addict, you don't know what I'm talking. You think I'm nuts, but
Right.
That's very logical.
Right. So then, sometime later, I don't remember. It was probably 89, 90. Danny Porsche called me up and said, "I'm coming to pick you up." It's okay. He goes, "I'm working in this company. It's called Stratton Oakmont, and I want you to come work."
Wow.
I go, "What kind of money? What is it?"
That's Donnie Azoff in the movie, The Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
His real name is Danny Porsche, and he happens to live right here in Boca Raton, Florida.
Yes, he does. He picked me up. He showed me his paycheck for the month, which was like $88,000. And I said, "Okay, where do I work?" He told me everything. So I went to work as a cold caller.
Correct. You start out.
I had to pass the Series 7.
And you were never a great student.
No, now there was another
Jordy
problem.
was never a great student. So in our graduating class, there was 624 kids.
Right.
Right. Jordy was like probably around 600.
I was not the best
He was
student.
not in running to be a valedictorian.
No, I was
He
not meant to be a doctor.
Never slated for Ivy League. But he was fun and he's smart, but he's not that academic oriented. He
Right.
was one a big reader, I'm guessing.
Right. So it took me 2 times to pass the
That's
test.
not bad.
I passed it on the 3rd time.
You didn't pay anybody to take it?
Nope.
All right, a lot of guys did in those days.
Yeah. No, I
Don't admit it if you did.
we were calling ourselves legit, and you had to
Right.
pass it. And I had I knew nothing about the stock market. I knew nothing.
You thought this is a real thing. I mean,
Yeah.
most people out there think that young guys go into this business that they want to steal or they're criminals. The government makes that. It's not untrue.
Right.
Most of us walk in and we see a regulated business with serious men wearing suits and ties and conducting real meetings and educating the crew about the markets and what to say and all this. It's just it's a legit environment.
Right. I didn't know anything until years later. Really.
When I first started, I had no idea what I was. I was just doing business. I thought I was doing great business in a good way, and I was very proud of myself, by the way. I didn't know that the people I worked for were, living on the edge, if not, stepping over the edge.
Right. So as time went on at Stratton, I became a good broker, and
So you eventually had your own book. You passed the test.
I was sober at Stratton.
Right. Thank God.
So let's talk about the movie a minute.
Right.
The truth about the movie, the one truth about the movie, were the drugs.
Yes, I get that.
They were crazy. But the lie about the movie was there was a scene where Jordan says, "I'm not leaving.
Right.
I'm not leaving." He left.
He did leave. Yes,
And
he
that's
did.
when I became the vice president of the company.
Vice President Stratton Oakmont Securities. I love that.
I was a 2.5% partner.
You hear that, everybody? This is a real deal. You're getting the real story for the first time, maybe ever.
Right. I was retail partners with Irv Stitsky.
Irv Stitsky,
Yes, who I still speak to today.
Okay.
He actually moved right down the block from me, and Irv and I are still very close.
Here, you mean in Delray?
Yeah, in Delray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he visited me in the hospital every day.
That's really nice.
Yeah, he was terrific.
Really nice.
So Irv and I were retail partners. Then Irv went on his own, and I was like a sales manager kind of thing.
Okay.
And Stratton went on. I made. I'll tell you the truth. I had the time of my life.
Of course, I'm sure. It looked like a lot of fun,
For
didn't it?
7 years, I belonged to a country club. I traveled. My father, I bought him a house here in Boca, and I was able to tell my father, "You could retire."
What kind of money were you making?
I was making about 1.3 a year.
So you were
Million a
shooting
year.
par. You're making over $100,000 a month.
Yeah.
That to me is shooting par. I shared with on this podcast several times regarding how we grade ourselves on the street.
Right.
Par is it's a term from golf. What a professional should shoot on a professional course, and we all try to measure that. Every handicap at every country club of every golfer and hacker and duffer, is based on par.
Right.
Trump is X amount over par.
Right.
Pro golfers usually have to break par on a regular course. They have to be able to break par on a regular basis. And guys like Tiger Woods were shooting 10, 20 below par on an 18-hole course. I mean, that kind of a thing. And this guy is unbelievable, this new champion. But so $100,000 a month. That's real money.
Ballpark, yeah.
That's real money. Now, you were single at the time?
I was single.
Never married?
I was getting engaged. I got engaged, and it didn't work out for whatever reason.
You want to share her name? You want to keep it private?
I don't want to embarrass her.
A girl I went out with, too.
She's very. Oh, you did? You rat.
Begins with a D, right? First
What?
name, D.
Yeah. She's married now with 2 kids, very happy, living a great life.
They own a steakhouse in New
Yeah,
York City.
they own, right,
famous
exactly. Very
steakhouse.
good, yeah.
Deanna, what's shaking, baby?
Deanna,
We just, you boys are here.
MP misses you.
We're real friends, nothing but great things to say about her.
No, I stay in contact with her.
That's so great.
Happy birthday,
Yeah,
this.
we're friends on Facebook as well all these years.
Yeah.
Great girl.
Great girl.
She got away. The one that got away.
The one that got away, my mistake. It was my own whatever.
Right, an amazing young woman. I feel that way about her
Yeah.
to this day.
And So I didn't get married. And it's funny, all the people that did get married got divorced.
Right. And you were sober, by the way.
Yes, I was sober.
But it would have been nice to have children with a girl like that.
Yes.
That's what I thought. A woman like that.
Yes. It's one of the regrets.
I understand.
One of the regrets. And then Stratton went on. You know the story. What people don't know is really when Stratton ended and the efforts that Jordan Belford made to put people in jail.
Right. So now let me tell you my story, how it merges and melds with this. They gave me 144 months in prison. They sent me to a real prison, and I was there 33 months before they allowed me to go to a prison camp. And just so you know, it's the difference between Motel 6 and the Four Seasons presidential suite. The difference between real prison and the prison camp, I cannot say enough about it. It's that big a jump. And they sent me to the real prison because I fought them. And everybody says to me, bro, the Wolf of Wall Street, guy was over $100 million, and he only did 22 months in a prison camp.
Yeah.
How could that be? And I said, well, let me tell you what I know. I know that he wore a wire for 6 months to a year and basically went in and tried to entrap people, and he gave the feds 50 cases.
That's true.
And that's how he stayed out of prison all that time. And that's how he became a friend of the government. And that's how he got only 22 months in a camp.
Yes.
I just want to just say, see how
That's
our
exactly
paths
true.
cross without crossing.
Right.
I have plenty of stories with regarding this guy and this and that, but I want to hear from you because you were there. You were an insider.
Yeah, he came to me several times wearing wires.
Do you remember the years this is now?
No, I don't remember. It was probably 98, 99, something like that.
Okay, end of the 90s.
And me and Irv Stitsky and another friend were doing this trading thing. I have no idea. I don't remember much. And Jordan came to my house wired up. He took me to dinner wired up. He asked me for help with drugs. He came to an AA meeting with me wired up.
He went to an AA meeting.
Sacrilegious.
An AA meeting wearing a wire.
Yeah.
To try and get dirt on you and other people, or just
Yeah,
you?
me and anybody I mentioned.
Wow. That's friggin'. Talk about a low of lows.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that's allowed.
I'm actually shocked that he he's a great salesman, obviously.
Yes.
And he sells himself well.
Yes.
He does motivational stuff.
Presents a great image. I give him all the credit in the world. He's repackaged the old Lehman method for selling, called it the direct
straight line
training. But and I give him a lot of credit. He portrays himself in a certain way. He's achieved a great measure of success financially. Seems to have a great life with a woman and all that. And so I give him all the credit in the world. However, now we're looking at some of the steps that he took to get to where he is.
Yeah, he took no prisoners.
Right. These are steps that I would never take. That call me stupid, called me a moron, old-fashioned. I could have given a United States senator, United States congressman, a member of parliament, guys that legitimately did some wrong. The feds would have loved to have. But what am I going to do? Ruin somebody's life? Destroy somebody's reputation and their life and their family? So I get an easier, softer way when I didn't really do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to, I didn't know how to balance those things. And I said, I just got to be true to who I am and what I believe in.
Yeah.
And now I have a harder climb to achieve some of the things that he's achieved. But I also achieved a lot of legit things and reached high levels like addressing Parliament twice, being invited right after the Queen of England, May 5th, 2005, opening Parliament, spoke in the House of Lords, 250 people, etc. So I've achieved certain levels because I was legitimate, I was straight, I do have these values. But how did he only get 22 months in prison? You understand?
50 indictments.
He gave up 50 indictments. Yeah. Now, he wore a wire, came to your house, he went out for dinner. What kind of things does someone say when they wear a wire?
Well, he talked. If I remember correctly, he would talk about what are you doing, Jordan? Oh, you got this stock. How can I get involved? He would try to bait me, and I trusted him.
Of course.
You know, I looked up to him. If any, you know, I was,
Yes.
one, you know, and it was afterwards I thought it wasn't kosher. You know, I when I thought about it after all this, but I must have gave him information. So Irv and I and the other person got. I'll never forget one morning. Irv calls me up. He goes, "The FBI is here." Then 2 minutes later, the FBI was knocking on my door, and they, about 6 or 7 guys came in, guns drawn.
They come in hot is the word.
And
yeah.
said, I don't know, and they said, "Get on the floor." Wow. So I did I thought a pretty good swan dive on the floor. I thought my form was very good as I
Jordan
dove
was
on
always
the floor.
a very good athlete.
Right. I thought my form was very good as I dove on the floor.
It's funny how we can all laugh about these things now. It's really funny.
Yeah, and the funny part is they put the handcuffs on. At the time, I had an entertainment center with a big TV and 3 TVs on top.
Now, where was this? Your office?
This was my home.
Oh, your home. They came in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were all around me, guns drawn and everything. And then one by one, they all walked away from me. They left me all alone. They're saying, "Hey, look how cool this is."
Right. They're just guys.
And
I
they
understand that. I learned that about them.
Watching TV. They were actually, once they realized I was, not a threat. They were very nice.
Decent, right?
They were very decent. And I did get a cooperation agreement.
Okay.
And
what does that mean?
That means that you cooperate, you give information. But the problem is I was the last one arrested.
Right.
I didn't have it. There was no one to talk about.
They
had everybody.
They knew everything, right? They already had everybody.
They asked me some questions. But you know what? AA saved me. And I'll tell you why. When you're getting sentenced, people write letters.
100%.
Whatever. I brought in about 200 cards and letters.
I understand.
From people who
me too.
From people from AA.
A lot from the program, yes.
People that I helped. And the judge looked at me and said, "Who are you?"
Right.
And she said to me, I'll never forget this. She said to me, "I'm not sending you to prison."
Wow.
She said to me, "I don't think you're a criminal. I just think you're an idiot."
I think they got you right.
I agreed with everything.
I think this judge was very smart.
I agree.
I know the guy 50 plus years, and that's exactly right.
And I agreed. And I ended up with three months probation.
And that's it.
3 years probation, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Then the funny part of that was after a year, my niece was getting married in Mexico. And I called my probation officer and said, "Could I go to Mexico to my niece's wedding?" The probation officer said, "No. You can't leave the
You have to ask
state."
the judge, right?
Right. So I said, okay. So I wrote a letter to the judge. I said, and this is how I worded it. "I don't know if you remember me, but my name is Jordan Shamah. And first of all, I want to thank you for setting my life straight and all that, it's done. But since then, I've left a good life." And I wrote her a letter. 2 days later, I got a fax taking me off probation.
Right. That's really nice. That's what a good judge does.
Right.
That's what a good judge does.
So that's
you found a good judge. They have to have some compassion, but they have to also understand, what the government does and says, and evaluate the person in front of them.
right.
Now, what did you plead guilty to? Because you have to plead guilty.
Conspiracy to commit securities fraud.
Okay. And did you? Are you guilty of that? And I'm talking now, looking back.
Back then?
20 years. Were you guilty of conspiring to commit securities fraud?
I was guilty of being an accomplice.
Okay.
Anyone there is guilty of being an accomplice.
No, but did you know that you were committing fraud? Someone was committing fraud, or you believed you were just you're selling securities?
At first, I thought I was just selling securities. When I saw, at the end, when I saw how they manipulated everything and did everything, I realized I was in a criminal empire.
Oh, you did realize that.
At the very end.
One of the biggest things is what they call intent.
Yeah.
Intent. If you didn't know, how could you have an intent to steal something from somebody?
I didn't know till the end when stuff happened. It occurred to me this might not be kosher.
Right. I got you. Okay. So you were aware at some
But
point.
I didn't make any decisions. I had I didn't do any trading. I didn't do it.
Right.
I
weren't a mastermind.
I was just sales manager.
You weren't a mastermind.
No.
You weren't in a leadership role.
I was never. My skill in life is being a great manager of people, but a good number two.
Okay.
I've never been a number one, and I just couldn't. And it wasn't me.
I understand that. I know you a long time, and I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But you're an amazing guy. You're a great dude. I always loved you from them. I never felt like I had a bad thing with you. I never felt like we had an argument or a disagreement. We were butting heads. I always somehow became a number one in my own world, but
Yeah.
I
you were
never,
very smart. You were one of the smartest people in our class, and you were. I never saw someone with the energy you had to either succeed, even to make friends, even socially. That same energy. I used to say, Ross works all day to be the most popular guy in class. No one works harder than him.
It's exhausting. I'm telling you.
But you had that from high school.
Yeah.
Because in our senior year, you were probably the most popular person in class.
Thank you. What? I never heard that, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But you worked hard for it. You went after it.
That's what I do.
Right.
I fear of failure. I don't always handle success so well, but I've always found myself being like a number one. That sort of a thing. But I've never really said to myself, "This is what I want to do. That I want to be a leader. This and that."
Right.
I'm just being me. I've never really analyzed it so much. I've had some women, and mostly women, tell me I'm a narcissist. The program helped me a great deal.
Yes, especially with that.
With all of it, because I have real addict traits. But I also spent years in therapy because I was unhappy with the program at some point. After I had a year, I did all 12 steps. I was sponsoring guys. I had a sponsor. I was leading meetings. And I just felt I could grow more.
Okay.
I felt I could grow more as a person. And so I sought out a top therapist. His name was Dr. Arthur Knauert. He changed my life. He passed away literally a month before my wedding, which was in June of '98. He was invited, and he had pancreatic cancer. I went to see him. I'll never forget the last time. He always looked a little gray to me. But now he says, I have pancreatic cancer, I have a bad diagnosis. 5 weeks later, he was dead.
Wow.
5 weeks later, he was dead. And he was actually a neurosurgeon. And one day woke up and said, you know what, I can help more people with my mind and my verbal, my understanding of the world than I can operating on people's brains, like, one a day. And he was a top neurosurgeon. And when he said that to me, I'm thinking, this guy's so full of shit. Because I said to him, I said, what are you, a brain surgeon? Because we were arguing over a particular thing. And he was always right. He was always right. I was very stubborn and opinionated and arrogant. And I think I was lost in a lot of ways.
Right.
And because when you're coming out of a 17-year run with drugs and alcohol, and now all of a sudden you decide you're going to get well, listen, I'm in AA now, and I'm getting sober and I haven't drank today, so everybody should welcome me. I'm like, bro, you're a fucking wreck. You're an animal. Right.
Recovery is very slow.
Well, just like the slide into addiction is slow.
Right.
You don't go, having a drink, smoking a joint, taking a pill, to being a full-blown addict. Banging heroin and doing all these different things. It takes time. And it's when you start, you do it. It's pretty glamorous. It's fun. You're with a bunch of people. At the end, you're sitting home alone.
Yeah.
And you can't get enough of whatever your particular drug of choice is.
Right.
It's a crazy thing. And as you can tell, Jordy and I are both blowing our anonymity today. Mine, of course, was blown March of '96 on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Call me a cocaine addict, an alcoholic. They claim I'm in recovery. All these different things. But this is an amazing story to hear about Stratton Oakmont and Jordy Belfort, and hearing some of the truths that are. Jordy was there. You were there.
I was there.
And everybody sees the movie, and everybody reads the book, and they think they're an expert. I always believe you go to the source.
Yeah, no, I was there, and I was sober. I was the only one sober.
I believe that.
I remember it. I remember everything. A lot of the movie was exaggerated, etc.
Of course.
But there There were some great times. I don't remember throwing midgets. That must have been before my time there.
I actually remember that story.
Right, but I wasn't there.
It was all over Wall Street the next day.
Yeah, I don't.
You know,
I guess I wasn't there.
I was
yet.
on the street and before you guys, and I was already getting into recovery by 1990.
Right.
You know, I had my run from 1983 to 90. I spent 7 years in the business, stoned out of my wits, and you know I made millions. But then I was a wreck. I went from having $30 million on my 30th birthday to owing $1 million on my 33rd birthday when I got sober.
I know.
I had $4,000 cash. I owed $1 million, but I actually owed more than $1 million. But I couldn't handle it. I stopped counting at $1 million.
Yeah. My problem is when I was starting to make money, I didn't know how to say no, and I was so happy. And doing what I did for my father, thank God,
That's beautiful, bro.
Was worth it. I bought him a house. I gave him money every month, and I wanted him to retire. And it happened to be next to his best friend, the house. That's why I did it. So that the last few years of his life were pleasurable.
Wow. Proud of his son.
Yeah. Well, I looked up to him like like you. I'm sure.
Of course.
Of course. And then when Stratton ended, I did a bunch of things. I don't know I don't even remember half the things I did.
Well, let's talk about it.
And then how I moved to Florida was Danny Porsche, he's very successful whatever he tries. He has his own little problems, but he had a medical supply company.
I remember this story. Yep.
And he had at the peak was about 600 employees.
Yep.
He said you need a job, work in the New York office. I built the New York office pretty big. So then he goes, why don't you just move to Florida? And I didn't. 2 weeks later, I was here.
Wow. Now, you were making money with Danny at this
yes,
place?
I was a sales manager, managing about 150 people. I took the sales from, say 1,500, 2,000 a day to like 3,000 to 4,000 a day. I would give sales meetings every day. It was fun. It was great.
Right. So
and we were helping people.
You're making a good living.
Yeah, I was making a decent. I thought I was done. Right. I thought I worked here 10 years.
Right. It wasn't Wall Street money, but it was.
No, it was a living.
It was a nice living.
And I don't care about Wall Street money or any of that. As you get older, a lot of that doesn't mean
correct.
So then, unfortunately, it got closed down.
It got closed down.
Yeah. Or they just closed. I don't remember.
Did Danny ever get indicted for that?
No, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, no,
he
did
nothing wrong.
I'm just saying.
His name was Danny Porsche.
Right. I hear a lot of stories. That's why I'm asking.
He did nothing wrong.
I get it.
And I want that known. Him and his partner did nothing wrong.
I already built a great business,
He
too.
built a great business, but they hear his name, they think they could get him.
Right. They can. It's easy. Low-hanging fruit.
Just by investigating him, destroyed the business.
I understand that 100%.
And so then I just jumped around, from job to job. Sales is, I made
You could sell anything, really, yeah.
Yeah, made livings, and lived a mellow life. And then this happened to me. Right now what I'm doing is trying to help people, too, and make a living, is I'm selling water purification systems. The water in Florida is terrible. Terrible. And I work for a company called Waterlux, and as a matter of fact, I work with Danny. And we go into people's homes and we test the water. We show them what's in it. You won't believe what's in the water.
It's crazy, bro.
And we offer
poison.
A full purification system, which is put outside, and it cleans the water. It's like Evian in your shower, in your washing machine.
Even in your toilet, probably.
Yeah, in your toilet, everywhere.
What does something like that cost?
It could cost anywhere between $4,000 to $5,000.
And you make money off. You make a good commission.
I make a little commission off it. Sometimes it costs more, depending on the size of the house.
Of course, how much water is used, how many showers.
It's twofold. One, I can make a slight living, and that's all I want in my life at this point.
Right.
And I'm helping people.
It's a good thing. I'm the same way. Listen, people say, why are you doing this? Why don't you just buy a boat and go retire? And I say, you know what? All my life, I focused on me. I was a taker, right? I learned how to take. I learned how to get money. That's the only thing I did really for, 35, 40 years. And I have big appetites, women and homes, and then I have my family now and I have children, and I want the best for all of them. But, I realized, what kind of a life is that? What is it going to say? Ross Mandell, born 1957, dies, 2035, and taker.
Right.
Ultra taker. I mean, what is that? So, I have children, and I went to prison, and, I don't want, they never wanted to talk about their father. They're in high school, daddy-daughter day, graduation. Where's your dad? What does your dad do? We taught them how to change the subject. We taught them how to avoid those questions that are normal, that people just ask. So, you're moving into college, into your sorority. Hey, your mom's great. Wow, what a great mom. Where's your dad? What does he do? And, we taught them to deflect and how to change the subject, how to avoid. And so now I get out of prison, and I've been deflected, I've been avoided, and pushed to the side, right? Because I don't want that to be my legacy. I want my years of being prosecuted and incarcerated, I want those to be a footnote in my story. I want to build a legacy that survives me, a platform that my children, when they see me on television, when they see me on YouTube, when they see me in a streaming event or in an arena speaking, I want them to say, that's my dad.
Right.
I want to help people. I want to give back. I was a supreme taker, an alpha dog, had my own brokerage firms, was the biggest producer, did all these incredible things. First person to take a regulated American business public on the London Stock Exchange. Said it was impossible. I went to the top law firms.
I remember.
It's impossible. I said, that's what they said about the 4-minute mile. I mean, it's just never been done, right? No, it's impossible. Well, guess what? You were wrong. These lawyers charging $1,000 an hour. They don't know shit. And like a lot of medical doctors, I'm sorry to say.
Yes.
And, nothing's impossible if that's in your head. Because impossible is 2 words, I'm possible. So I did some of these things. But it's discolored. The second the feds came in and said, he's a criminal. Shut me down. They were judge, jury, and execution, and they admit it in my case. And of course, nobody in the judicial system has a problem with that, which is all horse shit.
Right.
And so I want to give back. I want to help people. I want to educate people. I have such a body of knowledge and a body of work that I'm launching the Wealth Formula. It's a 114-page text with hyperlinks to source material, so you know where the information comes from. And we have downloadable PDFs and worksheets and 14 modules, all filmed in this studio, okay, under the guise of some of the greatest producers and editors in the world, Johnny D and Bill Hornick. We're talking about serious men that have spent 40 years in the entertainment industry and achieved the top pinnacle. I mean, Bill Hornick shoots Trump. He goes to Mar-a-Lago. He's the only guy that shoots Trump there in Mar-a-Lago. So we have a real group of talented men that want to make a difference in this world. And we want to teach people what to do and not to do. I'm not the creation. I've not been created on social media. I'm not a guy that had Facebook and Instagram followings and went to YouTube and all of a sudden I'm an expert on something. I did it in the real world. I made headlines before there was social media. I was on the front page of 100 newspapers around the world, more than once.
I know.
And Forbes magazine, Forbes, even when I was inside, Forbes wrote 15 stories on me while I'm in prison. I'm that interesting, apparently. And the truth of the matter is we want to affect the trajectory of people's lives in a positive way. So we're teaching how to build a business, how to get into business, how to take an idea or a product and make it a real business, how to value it, how to build a pitch deck, how to raise money, all the different legal entities that you could choose and the jurisdictions, onshore, offshore, Delaware Corp or Nevada LLC.
Right.
There's so many different aspects to business that people do not know. And we broke it down, and I promise you there is no text, there is no curriculum in any business school anywhere on earth that's equivalent to the Wealth Formula. I'm telling you that right now. No curriculum on earth in any business university. I challenge Stanford. I challenge Wharton, Columbia. They're top business schools, they're MBA programs. No curriculum that is as comprehensive, as vast, and as powerful as the wealth formula. I put that challenge out to the world right now. And we have studied this space, and it is really a dynamic course. And anybody that's looked at it, taken it, bought it at this point is like, oh my God, I'm shocked this is so comprehensive. And these are people that are making $500,000 a year. Right. That already have their own companies. And they're like, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. It goes on sale. Go to rossmandell.com, 2 S's, 2 L's. And today I have the privilege of talking to a dear old friend who, unfortunately, I get out, I'm on Facebook, and I see a GoFundMe page.
Yep. I haven't even used it in a while.
Right, but I said, you go in for routine colonoscopy, you're making a living. Next thing you know, you got a small amount of cancer, sort of a routine operation.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're fucking in a coma.
Yeah.
In the ICU, you can't work, you can't walk, you can't really even learn how to talk again.
Yeah, I had to learn everything.
I mean, it's just crazy. And you weren't a great learner.
I had no choice.
But you were physically gifted always.
Yeah.
You always had great, equilibrium,
right.
hand-eye
but
coordination.
Now I'm stuck with, this thing, and it's very hard.
When you say this thing, you mean?
Yeah.
Colostomy bag.
Yeah.
All right. Is that permanent?
No. Hopefully that's why I did the GoFundMe so that I could survive until January, February when they're going to do the reversal.
I love that. Listen, you guys hear this story? Open up your wallets, get your checkbooks out, send this man a few dollars here and there. I know I'm going to after this podcast. I want you all to wake up and say, look, do a mitzvah, do a good deed. You help somebody that's a little less fortunate than you are. That's why I have him here today. First of all, I love the guy, and I haven't seen him in more than 10, maybe close to 15 years. But he's a good guy. He always means well. And it's incumbent upon us that I'm a little more fortunate to give to those that are a little less fortunate. Somebody was there for you when you had a hard time. And I always believe in paying something forward. That's a great movie, by the way. Have you ever seen that movie?
Which movie?
Pay It Forward.
I don't think so.
It's a great movie. The whole concept is amazing. If somebody does something for you and it's good, when you get on your feet and when you're okay, you give back. You said something very telling before. When you had all this money, you're making $1.3 million a year, you're rolling on the street, doing IPOs, etc. You said, I couldn't say no to people.
I gave so much money away.
Right. And that's why people are going to show up for you and help you. Because that's the whole concept. When I was rolling, I took care of everybody. And, when I was in prison sitting there, if I got a couple of letters a week, I was thrilled.
Could I give my phone number so that...
100%.
It's area code 516, still from Long Island.
Wow.
516-815-8362. That's the best way to get in touch with me. Anybody interested in helping or doing water purification, please call me.
That's great. Now, what's your full name? It's Jordan?
Jordan Shamah.
How do you spell Shamah?
Shamah.
Jordan Shamah. How do you known on Facebook? Is that under your name?
Under my name, Jordan Shamah.
At Facebook.com. Yeah. What about on Instagram?
I'm Jordan Shamah on Instagram.
Boy, you see, it's an unusual name. I mean, I'm shocked to find out how many Ross Mandells there are.
Yeah, well,
there's quite a few.
Yeah, Mandell's a popular name. Jordan Shamah is an old
right.
Syrian
Shamah's
name.
From where? It's like a
Syrian name.
You're an SY?
My father was Syrian. My mother was normal.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I once had an SY girlfriend, so I know all about
that.
Yeah,
all my grandparents lived on Ocean Parkway.
That's where I grew up. Now, my parents are from Ocean Park, but Deal, New Jersey, they all go to
Right. They all go to Deal for the summer.
The Deal Casino, which is a beach club out there in New Jersey.
That's right.
Very interesting. Love that. Love this story. Any ground we haven't covered?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I want to say hello to all our high school friends who might be watching.
Yeah,
this.
Let's go. Class of 1975. We're going to throw in the 76 too because you were good people and you hung out with us. We want to say, hey, anybody, give a special shout out to.
Just a special shout out to my friend Steve who saved my life.
Stevie Madden. God bless you, bro. Go to a Steve Madden store and buy some shoes today, everybody.
Buy a ton of shoes.
My girls, when they were growing up, they wanted to only go to Steve Madden. I'm like, I can't. I remember that kid, skinny little redhead, right? He used to play cards all day.
Yeah.
Boss, you want to play cards? Want to play cards? Hanging out at Lynn Berwiner's house on Central Avenue in Cedarhurst. her mom Reggie, and he was working at Jill Door selling shoes.
Yes.
I remember waiting for him outside on the street. He just knew what he wanted to do his whole life.
Yeah, and we're the ones, Danny and I brought him into Stratton Oakmont.
Right. Crazy. I remember that story too.
And I actually thought I was helping. I thought it was the greatest thing for him. I didn't know.
Right. He had no money, just, so one day, I'll give you my Stevie Madden story with that. So we had a girl that we both hung out with and both dated called Hope Stern.
Yeah, no, Hope.
Remember
Hope is here.
She is. I
Yeah.
just spoke to her the other day.
Oh, tell her I say hello.
I will do that for sure. We could all go out. And Hope is a beautiful woman, sexy
Yes.
and built and smart. And Gabby, she's got a big personality. And, so Stevie and I both dated her at one time. And she helped launch Steve Madden Shoes. Stevie had no money.
Right.
He was going to shoe shows, and Hope has a perfect size 4 shoe. This is how I learned about this. How would a man know this kind of thing? And so she would do all the shoe shows. She was his model for Steve Madden
Wow,
shoes.
I don't remember that. Well, okay.
Right. So, and when I was dating Hope, sometimes I used to go to these shoe shows to see what was happening, and she was Stevie's model. And when he opened up an office in Long Island City at some point, he was first.
It's still there, I think.
But he was struggling at the time, and Hope is working there, and she's hawking him for more money, and she wants health insurance, and it's just Stevie and Hope. And so one day I'm now a broker. I'm now sober. It's in the 90s, and I get a call from Stevie. He says, "Listen, we have a mutual friend, and she's driving me crazy." I start laughing. I said, "Stevie, what's happening, man? How you doing?" And it was pre-Stratton and all that. And he says, Hope. I said, I know Hope. He says, she's driving me crazy. She wants a raise, and she needs more money to live, and she needs health insurance. She goes, Ross, I haven't had health insurance in like 7 years. We're really struggling. We're doing the best I can. And do you think you could help our mutual friend out? And so I said, I thought about it. And, I'm also about doing the right thing. I'm also, if somebody reaches out to me, I can't say no. I'm just that sort of guy, especially when it's some people that I care about, know, love, whatever. And so I said, okay. I said, have Hope call me. 3 minutes later, the phone rings. That's Hope. And she came in for an interview, and I hired her as my assistant. And I got to say, Hope, you were amazing. An amazing assistant, and really, just smart, talented, for the brokerage industry. She made friends with every customer. They would come in, they'd look at Hope, they go, I'm in.
Right.
Hope has certain assets that are very obvious when
Yes,
you meet her.
I remember.
And, and funny thing is, much later on, I ended up marrying my sales assistant, Stephanie. And so it's a great story. More Wall Street stories, more Wall Street scandals, and that's the kind of lives we've led. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but we are scandal-ridden.
Yeah.
The class of 75.
Yeah, there's a lot of very successful people from our class.
Very successful.
Very successful.
And Stevie went on to be killing it in the shoe business, and that was an amazing IPO. If you got in on the IPO and you held that stock all the way through these 25 years, it's worth millions. And, Brian Frank worked at Stratton.
Yeah, he works for Steve now.
Danny, I didn't know that. Okay. God bless you, Brian. Who else worked from our class? Do you remember anybody else?
Who worked where?
Stratton, Wall Street, any good stories?
From our class. Well, Kenny Friedman.
Right.
You remember him?
Yes,
he
of
worked
course.
there.
Another golfer.
For a short time, yeah. I'm trying to think, probably more. I can Gary Lambert for a short time.
Okay.
Richie Cohn for a short time.
Correct. These are all guys that we hung out with, pretty much every day, high school and then after school and different clubs and bars.
Steve hired a lot of people.
It's good for him.
A lot of people from the old days. He hired a lot of people he was in prison with.
We already know what a good guy is. That's another story. I roomed with one of his cellies who got re-indicted on a different crime. And he was at Coleman Low with Stevie.
No.
And that's that's for another whole podcast.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for tuning in today. Jordan Shamah, you have his phone number, you have his Facebook, you have his Instagram. Please reach out to him. Do what you can. God bless Steve Madden because he did the right thing and he saved Jordy's life. And I just want to say, what an amazing day this has been. Thanks for coming, Jordy. I'm so appreciative. Sayonara, everybody. Peace.